And welcome to this edition of the Native News Update on this Monday, February 20th. I'm your host for today's program, Paul DeMain. Many of the stories we read here can also be found at our website at IndianCountryNews.com. A mother of three has become one of the first women elected to the Tribal Council of the San Ildefonso Pueblo. Irene Tsesipi was sworn in this last weekend as a council member of the Pueblo in northern New Mexico near Santa Fe. Members were previously appointed to the 10-person panel. KOAT-TV reports that a new agreement allows women to vote and run for tribal office. Pueblo Governor Terry Aguilar says the agreement lets them preserve their tradition but also incorporates parts of modern government and society into that process. The new chairwoman say the Pueblo's females have good minds, strong hearts. She says she ran because she wanted to be a role model. Altogether, 3 women were elected to the council. The new members say they will start their work today. There were sharp tools, cedar shavings, and steaming pans of water. And there were plenty of stories, including ones about beloved grandmas and favorite pets in life before luxuries as indoor plumbing and internet. After all, memories and artwork always became one in the home of Andrea Wilbur Siegel's home studio near Shelton, Washington. The internationally renowned Squaxin Island carver led a bentwood box workshop over the weekend as parts of a series of classes and activities in preparation of this summer's Tribal Canoe Jury 2012. The handmade boxes will be given away during a Potlatch Ceremony hosted by the Squaxin Island Tribe. More than 100 canoes are expected to land at the Port of Olympia beginning July 29th. Potlatch protocol is scheduled from July 30th through August 5th on the Squaxin Island Reservation near Shelton, Washington. The Miccosukee Tribe in South Florida says its members could owe nearly $26 million to the Internal Revenue Service because of bad legal advice. The tribe is blaming its former attorney, Dexter Leighton, who is also a former Miami U.S. attorney and husband of U.S. Representative Leanna Ross Leighton, a Republican from Florida. The tribe claims Leighton gave misleading advice about whether individual members had to pay federal income taxes out of casino gambling distributions. The tribe itself is considered a sovereign nation not required to pay income taxes, but the IRS says individual members do have to pay. Leighton's attorney told the Miami Herald that the Miccosukee are trying to shift blame to him to cover up mistakes by their own leaders. Leighton represented the tribe in a variety of issues from 1992 until he was fired in 2010 following a change in Miccosukee leadership. The tribe has filed a malpractice lawsuit seeking damages against Leighton over the tax issue. Leighton is seeking to have it thrown out of court. Add Taunton to the list of possible sites for a Massachusetts casino. Mayor Tom Hoy Jr. says he had preliminary talks with the chairman of the Mashpee Wampanoag Tribal Council and the tribe's lobbyist, former U.S. Representative William Delahunt, about building a Taunton casino. Hoy tells the Taunton Daily Gazette that parcels at Liberty and Union Industrial Park owned by the nonprofit Taunton Development Corporation have been considered as a resort casino site. The parcel is near the Silver City Galleria Mall. Hoy says the casino in Taunton would create as many as 4,000 jobs. Governor Devil Patrick signed a law in November authorizing up to 3 casinos in the state. The Navajo Code Talkers Association is under new leadership. The group recently elected former tribal chairman Peter McDonald as its president. The 83-year-old McDonald succeeds Keith Little, who passed away January 3rd. McDonald served in the U.S. Marine Corps from 1944 to 1946 and was one of hundreds of Navajo trained to use a code based on their native language. McDonald earned an electrical engineering degree from the University of Oklahoma and worked for Hughes Aircraft in California before returning to the reservation during the mid-1960s. He served 4 non-consecutive terms as chairman of the Navajo Nation in the 1970s and 80s. McDonald says he will do his best to make the Code Talkers' dreams of a museum and veterans center a reality. Lawmakers in the state of Washington are considering a proposal to start dismantling the state's civil jurisdiction over American Indians, a step many consider long overdue. But critics say they worry what restoring full sovereignty to tribes over their members might subject outsiders to unfair treatment in tribal courts. Congress passed a law delegating jurisdiction over tribes to some states in 1953 called Public Law 280 to many at a time when the government was forcing Indians to assimilate. The law was sparked in part by public demand for improved law enforcement on reservations. States such as Nebraska and Oregon have unraveled parts of the federal mandate. In Washington, the idea has garnered broad support following a series of meetings last year by a task force that included law enforcement officials, prosecutors, and representatives of counties and cities. Authorities say 2 boys and a man are dead after a house fire on the San Carlos Apache Reservation in eastern Arizona. The Arizona Republic reports that the boys, 5 and 7 years old, and the man was 50. Warren Youngman, an assistant special agent with the Bureau of Indian Affairs, says officers arrived at the burning home at 1:45 a.m. Saturday morning. They were met by a 63-year-old woman who said her grandchildren and a family friend were still inside. Youngman said firefighters entered the home and found the man and 2 boys dead. All 3 were members of the San Carlos Apache Tribe. Youngman says the cause of the fire is unknown. Special agents from the BIA and the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms and Explosives were still investigating early this week. The victims' names were withheld pending notification of all family members. The Wisconsin State Senate Joint Finance Committee did not vote on AB 426, the mining bill, on Friday, February 17th, as expected and directed by Senator Majority Leader Scott Fitzgerald. In fact, near the end of the day, Fitzgerald announced the bill had his brother sponsored in the Assembly for the Gogebic Mining Company dead, in part because state Republican Senator Dale Schultz said he would not vote on that bill in any way, form, or fashion, meaning the Republicans would be 1 vote short in the Senate of passing their mining bill that affects northern Wisconsin and the potential of putting an open pit strip mine permit there. Does anyone believe the bill is dead? Not in Wisconsin. By any means, with all the sleight of hands, dissolve legislative committees and midnight votes with hundreds of cops nearby just in case. No, nobody believes that, or that anyone on that side of the aisle, like Senator Lassay, who this weekend said that the reason Wisconsin tribes have not been consulted in this issue was because of how far away they are. Maybe they don't know how to find out where they are to get a hold of them. Stay tuned and mark your calendars for the weekend on April 6th and 7th for the Pinocchio Mountain Picnic. More details to be announced in the near future. And lastly, Ho-Chunk Nation relatives are searching for information in the whereabouts of 21-year-old Gene Jacob Cloud Jr., who was last seen January 25th near Millstone, Wisconsin on Highway O. If you have information, call Simone Cloudzane at 608-448-8212, or in Wisconsin, the Jackson County Sheriff's Department, and that would be greatly appreciated. And that's going to be another roundup of news from Indian Country on this edition of the Native News Update. We want to thank you for joining with us, and you come back again soon. Miigwech.